Let me disconnect this from our power source. Disconnected that, disconnect that too, and on this end also disconnect it from our cell for our next set of demonstrations. Okay, so right now I thought I should show you a bit of wires and common scenarios and outlooks of wires that you may encounter in your encounters with earphones and during your attempts to rectify any of them. So let's just take, for instance, this wire. Now when you look at this, basically these are two separate strands of insulated wires, but then bonded together by glue to make a pair of insulated wires. So any device that consumes electricity will always have positive and negative terminals. In other words, it has to be supplied and drained through a wire. That's why we have ourselves here two wires. Now this is one type of wire that you would see, just two separate conductors or two separate insulated conductor strands that are bonded together, not electrically but physically. So they are actually running parallel to each other, but they are already insulated from each other. Now I am going to take this and join it to our LED just to give you a clue of what's happening right here, to show you that these two that are joined together are actually not shorted to each other. Okay, now that I've connected that side, I can now connect my power source right there, so we get our glow right there. So that is one scenario of wires. We can now disconnect that and put it to the side right there. This is also another pair of insulated wire strands, insulated from each other, just right there, running parallel to each other. Now the second scenario that you might encounter is a scenario that is like this, right? Now I think this is a bit peculiar in that we seem to have two pairs of wire strands running in the middle of an insulating fifth, which is a bit cylindrical right there. So I think there's something I wanted to make mention to you. Now if you notice, one of them is painted blue and the other is painted question is, how are these two not shorting to each other? That's a very good question. So to answer that question, let me deploy the services of similar looking sets of strands. Okay, right there we have those two. One is colored brown and the other one I think is green, representing our blue one in right there. You might be wondering, actually let me put this to the other side because we are going to use this to demonstrate. So I just want to demonstrate to you that these two wires that I have just pulled out are actually non-conducting. In other words, what's happening is that they are coated by a veneer of paint that is insulative. Actually, this is not one single core, it's a set of strands. If I may, think you can see that it's multiple strands right there, wound together, each coated and forming the entire green set of wires. I just wanted to connect this LED to the cell using these two pairs of wires and show you that it will not glow. Let me just do that. So now if you might notice, actually the LED right there isn't glowing, and when you look at these two wires, none of them is touching each other, so there's no short circuiting either. So this is to demonstrate to you that when I connect the positive terminal of this LED to the positive terminal of our power source, the cell, our negative terminal of this LED to the negative terminal of our power source, the cell, with these two strands of wires that are actually inside this core, this LED doesn't glow, meaning that these two wires are insulated. By the way, I joined them by simply twisting them around each other. If you may be wondering how I'm joining them, I'm not using any sort of glue. So no glow. Now I just want to go ahead and disconnect this so as to be able to prove to you that these two wire strands are actually insulated or have a coating of insulating material. Now if you something I might also need to mention is the fact that most insulators tend to burn. In other words, they are flammable. So what I am going to do to remove some bit of insulation from this wire, just to expose the metal strands so as to be able to make electrical contact, I am going to use a lighter to actually burn off that coating. Now I am going to hold it from here because I do want this fire to terminate at that point. Now this is our flame. Now look at when I bring it near this, it glows right there. When I pick this other one, the brown one, and my hand here is limiting the spread of the flame as the coating starts to burn. Lighter, you can see. Now also the opposite end, I am going to burn a similar length of insulation off right there. That's off. And then to the side of the brown one too, burn off some of the insulation. But every time we burn any insulating type of material, what we notice is that it leaves a residue that is some sort of oxide material, so that will also still create some bit of insulation. So what I'm going to do is to polish and clean off that dirt that has remained after burning. You can see it sticking onto my gloves. I think I'll do the rest of camera for all the four ends, this, that, and that, and then come back and connect and see. Okay, so now having burnt off the insulation of each strand of each group of strands of wires, what I am going to do is to connect the LED to our cell using the exposed portions of these wires. So get one end of this wire right here and twist it around this one. Okay, that's one end there, and the other end here onto our negative terminal of the LED. Now you notice that it is glowing after having burnt off some bit of insulation and polished a bit of the extreme terminals of these two wires, the green wire and then the brown wire. We get ourselves a nice glow on the LED. Notice one thing. Now I'm just going to show you that these two wires are insulated by simply shorting them to each other and showing you that the glow will continue glowing even when I do make these two wires make contact with each other. So let's just do that. Right there, you see we still have a glow. But now look here at this exposed part. When we make contact, the glow goes. In other words, we short circuit it. So that was to just show you that in as much as you see these two strands of wires inside this insulating core that is white, each of these pair of wire strands is actually insulated by the coating that you see on the surface of it. I think it's a bit of a technology that has been being developed over the years to help such fine detail to be accomplished. Yeah, by the way, notice one thing is that this is actually a set of strands, wire strands right there, but each of the wire strands that you see right here are insulated individually and are combined together to form a collective. That's what we have here. Another such example of wire is this one right here. You can see that in this pair there is actually a green wire and the red wire, and even those are insulated from each other. So this outer piece is actually a mechanism of keeping these two pairs of wires together. Now you can realize that that is quite a contrasting solution to what we have here. Now what we have here is that this set of wire strand is insulated with a teeth, and then the two teeth are glued to each other to form that pair of insulated wire strand for connecting power. So I am going to cease calling them a group of wire strands and simply call it wire. I hope you quite understand that in my subsequent explanations, a group of wire strands, I will refer to them simply as the wire. So that these are two differing solutions. This one, the positive wire and the negative wire are each insulated from each other and glued, their teeth glued onto each other to keep them together like that. Now in this other one, the solution of keeping these two groups of wire strands together is by making them run through the inside of an insulating teeth. Okay, it's both to insulate it from environmental wear and tear, and also to keep these two pairs of wires together. So question is, which places will you usually find this kind of combination of wires? That is to be answered later on. And by the way, if you haven't yet subscribed, now is the time to hit that subscribe button. It's a red tab with the word subscribe in it. Just click on that, you'll be subscribed. Oh, by the way, never forget to click on that thumbs up. It goes a long way to saying thank you. And if you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section. By comments, I mean perhaps questions, compliments, or anything of the kind. And do share the videos too. Yep, so I had shown you one method or one case scenario of two wire strands that have been kept together in an insulating teeth to both protect it from environmental wear and tear, and also to keep them together. Then, having shown you this, there is also one. Now look at that. Now if you look at this, this is almost similar to the previous wire that I showed you. However, in this case we have 1, 2, 3 groups of wire strands running through this bonding insulating teeth. The other one is where there are 4 wire strands grouped together and passing through a single insulating teeth. The last case scenario is this one, whereby we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But be careful, this is very deceiving. Actually, the 5th one is hiding another set of wire strands in it. And all these are case scenarios that you're going to encounter in your day-to-day encounters with your earphone, headset, headphones, and one such thing. But never forget that these colored strands of wires are actually already insulated. The coloring is actually paint or a veneer of paint that does insulate them from each other to avoid any of them shorting to the next guy. So that's wire combinations.